Maybe. All right. So that's what we're going to work with today is this sense of mobilizing the spine itself. So if you think of the dura as this, inside the vertebral canal. So we all know our vertebrae have this hole, where our spine goes through it, and then the spine has a sheath over it. And underneath, that's called your dura, and underneath the dura is the spine, the nerves themselves, and they're bathed in cerebral spinal fluid. So there's a lot of opportunity for mobilization of this dura with movement in our body. So that's, a little bit about what we're going to kind of try to sense in our practice today. But remember, every time you step on the mat, every time you get into any movement practice of any kind, that this consistency of our practice, the stepping onto your mat daily or regularly, through the week really matters that when we take time to consistently mobilize our body, our future selves are so thankful for this. Our today self is very thankful for this, that we learn how to bend so that we won't break. Okay. All right. So come to a comfortable seat and sit up straight and tall and allow yourself to ground here. And just notice what you feel like when you're sitting. And a lot of times, of course, we want our whole spine to be mobile. We want each and every vertebrae to have whatever range is available to it. But even just the ability to move our tail and our neck, the two edges of the vertebrae, can have profound impact on the way our spinal column exists within us. Okay, so close your eyes. I'm gonna have to sneeze. Sorry. Nope. Close your eyes and drop your weight down into your pelvis. Feel that sense of grounding in your legs. So, you can even touch your legs and kind of press down on them if it feels good to do so, where you can get this sense of rooting yourself. So maybe a little pressure feels good. And then notice once you're sitting upright with a crown over your tail, see what it feels like to just round and arch the pelvis a little bit. So a little anterior tilting of the pelvis and a little posterior tilting of the pelvis. And of course, it's going to move the rest of your spine a little bit, but just a subtle movement in the pelvis itself. And see if you can pay attention when you have this subtle movement in the pelvis, even if you're not trying to move through the rest of your spine. Notice what your head is doing. Probably your head is moving. More than likely you're mobilizing a little bit all the way through your spine, even when you're not trying to. And now imagine that you are trying to carry something on your head nice and balanced, like a stack of books or something like that, and move the pelvis and see if you can keep the head very still. And notice that this is much harder, that it's not a natural way, that we don't get that undulation through the spine that is a natural occurrence. All right, and then take your books off your head, settle into your posture. Take a deep breath in, a deep breath out. And in your mind's eye, imagine if you had your hand on a rope and the rope was just laid out long in front of you, and you lifted the rope up and gave it a good flick. And chances are very good that that flick of the rope would travel down all the way to the loose end of the rope, no matter how, um, you know, hard or soft the flick was. There'd probably be a subtle, even with a soft movement, there'd be a subtle change in the length of the rope. All right, so now let's imagine your head. So start to do just the teeniest of motion. Doesn't have to be like your deepest neck fold and your deepest neck extension. Just a subtle flexion and extension. And now we may, because this is not tethered to something right now, we may have a little bit of a harder time noticing how this impacts the pelvis, the sacrum. but just see if this subtle movement of your neck can facilitate just the smallest bit of movement in your pelvis. You know, what I'm noticing is that it's making my weight shift differently into my sit bones. I'm not noticing so much of a difference in my pelvic orientation, like anterior, posterior tilting, but I'm bearing weight differently. So what are you noticing? And then settle yourself again and find your breath. Relax the shoulders. And just be aware of your crown over your pelvis, the length of your space in your spine, your vertebrae and the discs. And then let's invite some breath into this movement. So a seated cat-cow. So now let's feel the full spine move. So rounding the spine and then arching the spine. And maybe the inhale comes with the arching of the spine. Maybe the exhale comes with the rounding of the spine. Just see how that might feel. And see if you can just imagine what's happening inside your body. It's easy to kind of feel the muscles. They have a lot of sensation. Maybe your skin or your fascia has a lot of sensation to it. But see if you can just sense inside the vertebrae and notice your spine moving. This is harder. You might just need a visualization first and then see what it feels like to feel that internal movement. How's your breath? Stay with it. All right, and then come back to neutral again. And just notice if there's a little more space, if the floating vibe of getting your spine to sit well over your pelvis is a little easier. If there's an effervescence or an aliveness in your spine. When you're ready, bring your hands together. Take a deep breath again. Let all your breath out. Offer an intention here for your practice. And then relax your hands and let's find our way onto our back. So as you stretch out your body, notice what it feels like to have your spine, your vertebrae in a different orientation to gravity. So now instead of upright, where the pressures of gravity come down on our spine, now our spine is spreading out. And just pay attention to that. Just rest here before we move anything at all. Just let your spine kind of settle into this new orientation to gravity. Melt your limbs. And then when you're ready, we'll stretch our arms over our head and feel our reaching that we always do. So reaching one side, reaching the other. So we're moving your hips now, stretching one leg a little longer and then stretching the other a little longer. So we're kind of hiking the hips in some asymmetry. And pay attention to how this feels in your low back and in your sacrum. A lot of times we feel it just in the sides of our body. See if you can pay attention a little closer to the center and how that subtle back and forth is opening up your pelvis and your SI joints and your low back a little bit. And then draw your knees into your chest and rock to and fro from side to side. Nice and gentle. Feel that fluidity of movement. And then hang on to the knees and let's circle and notice how your pelvis is moving. Now you probably always go the same direction first, your more familiar pattern of circling. Now go the other direction and just notice what has changed, what's shifting, what are you feeling in your hips, in your sacrum, in your pelvis. All right, and then find neutral, and we'll open our knees away from the middle and bring them back in towards, so we find that sense of motion, breathing deeply. And then right knee into your chest, left leg long on the ground. Let's roll around in your ankles, wiggle through your feet. Feel a sense of resting in your head, so you don't have to move your spine right now. We're just kind of focusing on the feet and the legs. And now cross that right knee over to the left and stretch open to a twist. And feel free to rock a little bit, maybe rock a little toward your knee and a little toward your hand, and that subtle movement. And relax your head. Make sure you're not trying to lift your head up. Get a nice easiness through your skull. And then come back to center. Bring that knee in. Pick up your head and round the spine a little bit. And then we'll release the head down and switch sides. Left knee in, right leg long. Rest the head and shoulders. Relax into the ground. Keep moving your feet, wiggling your toes. And then when you're ready, we'll take the left knee over to the right and stretch open to a twist here. And maybe a little rocking feels good. Keep resting the head. And then find your way back. Bring that knee into the chest. A nice good squeeze. Pick up your head and round the spine a little bit. And then release that leg and stretch everything open to a star. Arms overhead. Let's roll our wrists and wiggle our fingers and our toes and roll our ankles. And remember, this motion is lotion. That each time you take a little time to move around in your joint spaces, you're freeing yourself up, loosening, hydrating, lubricating all these beautiful joints. A deep breath in, stretch, and as you exhale, round the spine, pick up your head. Let's do that twice more. An expansive opening in your spine, and then an expansive opening in the back of your spine. One more time. How's your breath linking to your movements? All right, put your head down, arms out to the sides, knees bent, feet on the floor, and let's just simply windshield wiper your knees. Let your head turn in the opposition of your knees, and again, feeling that connection to what the bottom half of your, or the bottom part of your vertebrae are doing, and the upper part of your vertebrae, and just finding that connection. All right. And then we'll roll all the way over onto our side and come up onto your hands and your knees. And as you find all fours, have a moment before you start a cat-cow to let your belly fully drop. Let your diaphragm release. Notice if there's any tension you've been guarding across the breathing apparatus. So let your diaphragm release fully into your abdomen. All right, and then we'll start to move. So arching the back, tail up, head up, and then rounding the spine. Tail down, head down. Move with your breath and see what it feels like to ripple through each vertebrae. Cat-cow, is just really such a great posture for our spine. It's gentle. We get to touch every vertebrae. We get to moderate how much we move. There's gravity is not pushing down on the spine because we're horizontal to the earth. Horizontal. So just see what it feels like to move your spine in this way. Definitely recommend this to be an everyday posture in your body. And it seems like something so simple, but really it's quite profound. All right, and then move your spine any way you want to move your spine. You can wag your tail or circle. Move your head around, move your shoulders around, and just enjoy all the freedom of articulation that your spine has. What a gift. Oh, truly, what a gift to be able to move your entire spine in all these different cool ways. I really try to cherish. All right, and then when you're ready, settle down into a child's pose. Walk the hands far out in front of you. Feel some length in your body. Relax your neck and breathe. Notice how your breath changes the shape of your spine. Isn't it amazing how we're built that our breath gives us motion? So much happens to subtly support the body when we breathe that has nothing to do with oxygenation. Just the movement itself supports the heart and the organs. All right, let's walk the hands over to one side and feel that reaching through your whole side. And imagine that the spine windows are opening up, so the little side holes in your vertebrae where the nerves come out. See if you can widen those on this side, like peeking light through a window. And then back to the center and walk your hands over to the other side and open up. Try to curve the spine. It's not just a lengthening through the outer rim of the side, but see if you can get a little bit of that lateral opening in the vertebrae themselves. And then come back to center. Move around in your spine again, just finding freedom of movement. What a blessed thing. All right, and then we'll find a full twist. Reaching one arm up in the air, give your wrist a little swirl, and then we'll take that shoulder down and twist deeply. A little pressure of the hand on the ground to deepen the twist, but always remember that the twist organically originates from the breath. It's not a push that makes the twist happen. The push is just that extra that can kind of facilitate a little bit more depth. How's your neck? Can you relax your skull on the ground? And then inhale, bring that arm back up in the air. Move your wrist around again. Place that hand down onto the ground. Switching sides. Arm up. Give a swirl through your wrist. And then exhale. Drop that shoulder down. Breathing deeply. A full inhale. Full exhale. Relax through your skull. A deep breath in, deep breath out. All right, and then reach that arm back up in the air. Hand comes down onto the ground. Let's lift to a full dog pose. So much extension gets to happen in your spine here, or that feeling of length. So let's take a moment to find our legs, open them up a little bit, pedal your feet. Once again, that motion is lotion. As we rock into our ankles and move our feet and bend our knees, we're loosening some of our fascia. Just getting everything to be more supple and liquid. Ground yourself now. Feel the roots and then rise out of the pelvis. Heart lifting toward the hips. Feel grounded through your hands and your feet. And notice all the space between your vertebrae. Okay, walk your feet forward. Come to Uttanasana, forward fold. Relaxing here. Softening your skull down, release, bobble your head if it feels nice. And then find a halfway lift, lifting through your heart, maybe a little pedaling of your feet here. So you can move your hip one back and one forward, bending one knee. Maybe your feet even come into the play where you can lift toes up and on one foot at a time. Just that back and forth motion. And then ground your feet. Feel yourself fold deeply forward and let your spine cascade toward the ground like a waterfall. Bobble your head and let gravity with that movement feel your spine get a little longer. And then we'll push through our feet and come up to stand. Now, we've been down for a little while, so of course, when you stand up, if you get a little dizzy and your blood pressure needs a little regulating, you can always squeeze your legs or squeeze your hands. Take a deep breath in, arms up to the sky. Open up through your heart, expand. And then let's cactus open the chest, squeeze the back body a little bit. Exhale, round and chin to your chest. Inhale, up, out, and back. And then exhale and round in. Chin to your chest. Let's do that one more time. Chin up, wide arms, squeeze the back of your body, round in, chin to your chest. Take your hands into a fist and keep your chin tucked for a moment. Spread your shoulder blades, reach your arms forward, and then neutralize your head. Keep it right over your crown. Index fingers pointing straight forward. Take a deep breath, tip your head back, a little bit of a back bend. And then exhale and fold forward. A halfway lift, opening up through the spine. Exhale and release. Let's do that one more time. A halfway lift, sit bones high, legs straight, spine straight. And as you exhale, a full fold. Just let your spine, you can bend your knees as much as you want. Let your spine lengthen. Bobble your head a little bit again. And then when you're ready, take the heels of your hands at the base of your skull and gently draw down toward the ground. And then gently draw in, chin toward your chest. Use the hands to do the movement. See if you can feel this all the way to your tail. All right, release that. A halfway lift again, opening up through the spine. Exhale, hands down onto the ground, back to a dog pose. Sit bones high, spread the hands and feet. How's your breath? Let's come forward into a plank. Push the ground away. See if you can lift the armpits off the arms. Find your breath. Put your knees down onto the ground and find the earth. Roll the shoulders a few times here. Getting some mobilization. Okay, just enjoy what it feels like to slide your shoulder blades around on your back. And then inhale and lift to a cobra pose. Be gentle. Don't go your highest height right away. Exhale to come down. Let's kind of be progressive. We'll do two more. So rising up, maybe a teeny bit higher. And then exhale to release. One more time, opening the front of that spine. And then exhale and surrender back. Come up onto all fours and move around. Wiggle your spine a little bit. Take your two blocks next to each other. Put your elbows on your blocks. And then drop back, stretching open your triceps. So thumbs toward your spine, hips drop back like child's pose. You can curl your toes under for a little extra height under your hips if you want. And just open up the thoracic spine in this way. Try not to collapse your armpits down, but lift your armpits up. Stretch from elbows to hips. Okay. All right, and then we'll release that. Take the blocks away, hands on the ground, and come to a puppy pose. So the hips stay high and drop your chest down toward the ground. And just notice that compression in the back of your body in the thoracic spine, but the opening in the front. How's the breath? All right, come back to center and do a cat cow. Start with the scared cat. Okay, rounding the spine and then arching the spine. Curl the toes under, lift to a dog. And we're gonna ripple through to a plank. So round the spine a little bit. And then when you get to a straight back, push the ground away. Find that long spine. And then round your spine back to a dog pose. And we'll do that one more time. Even weight through your hands. Round your spine. And then straighten your spine out. And then round your spine to come all the way back. Reach your right leg up in the air and stack open the hip and breathe. Put that foot down, change sides, lift the left leg up. You can bend your knee if you'd like or straighten it. Open up the hip and breathe. All right, and then square the pelvis up again. Walk your feet forward. One more time, that forward fold. Push through your feet, rising up. And then trace down through the center of the body. Bounce. Okay, so if your knees, ankles, hips are unhappy with bouncing, do anything you can to jiggle your spine. So even if you're not jumping or bouncing very deeply, any bit of movement of this compression release is really good to kind of get some movement in your vertebrae and in your spine. All right, and then pause and notice yourself on the inside. Now we've been focusing on, flexion and extension in the spine, but of course the spine moves in so many ways. All right, take a deep breath in, arms up to the sky. Exhale, loading forward. Relax your head. A halfway lift, expand and open. Melt and fold again. Step your left foot back. Okay. Right foot's in front, finding a lunge. All right, let's move, bend and straighten. Move so slowly, move with your breath. All right, after a couple of passes of just kind of waking up our legs, now when we come back to straightening the leg, maybe an exhale is there. Square the hips, lift the toes, and drop your chin down toward your chest. And then bend your knee, lift your chest, lift your chin. And as you exhale, square hips, lift toes, long spine, tuck chin. One more time, bending the knee, lifting your chin. Exhale, square hips, toes lift, drop the spine, tuck the chin. All right, and then find your ground. Push through your feet. Inhale, rise up, crescent lunge, opening up the heart. Feel that extension and breath. And then take your hands behind you, interlace your fingers, open up across the spine, across the chest, reach your fingers down and lift your chin up. Now pay attention to not compress the low back. Use your core, use your legs, climb out of your pelvis. Lift the chin. And then release your hands. Come down and bring your left hand onto a block or the ground. Inhale, open up into a twist. Find your breath. Okay. And then we'll start a big backstroke stroke here. So we're moving the spine, the ribs. It's not just the shoulder movement. A big circling of that arm, chest, ribs. And hand down. Walk your feet forward, Uttanasana. A halfway lift, opening up the spine. Exhale, stepping back with your right leg. Left is in front now. Open up your chest. Have a couple of passes with your toes on the ground. So you're just kind of waking up, seeing what this side feels like. Pay attention to keeping your pelvis square, your hips square. And then after a couple of passes, when you exhale and straighten that leg, see what it feels like to lift your toes and tuck your chin. Back to the lunge, lift the heart. And then square hips, straighten the leg, toes up, spine long, chin in. And you can put the block on any height to help you with this. Sometimes the higher height is very good. Notice if this side feels different, if there's a little more tethering on one side versus the other. Okay, and then ground yourself, root down into your feet, push through your feet and rise up, crescent lunge. Focus on climbing out of the pelvis, so it's so easy to sink downwards. See if you can use your core, lift your torso up out of your hips. And then when you're ready, interlace your fingers the weird way behind your back, so the opposite finger cross from what you just did, and then open up, shoulders back, reach the fingers down, open your chin, lift it up, open the breath. Try not to compress the low back, use your core. And then release. Bring that right hand onto a block or the ground. Turn and open up to a twist. And then we'll start to spin that left arm in some big circles, and it's not just coming from the shoulder, but the ribs. Reconnect to your legs, ground them. Keep breathing. All right, and then hands down. Bring that front foot back, dog pose. Come forward into a plank. Find the ground. Take any variation of a back bend that you want. All right, and then come have a moment, wiggle your spine, and then rest for a moment in a child's pose. And just let your back relax. Notice your breath and how it changes the shape of your body. All right. Find your way back up. If you're skipping dog poses, go ahead and come to stand. Otherwise, move through a dog pose and walk your feet forward. Rising up. And again, tracing down through the center. Have a breath. Turn sideways on your mat. Let's just open up our legs this way because we haven't done any of that yet. And just feel your inner thighs open. You can take your elbows to your inner knees, getting that deep, wide squat. Let your pelvis receive this. Ground through the four corners of your feet. And inhale. Climb back up, standing star. Open up from navel to all your extremities. And then drop down into a goddess. And feel free to move your arms as we move through this, straightening your legs on your in-breath, perhaps coming back into your goddess on your exhale. Maybe that's the breath pattern you have, maybe it's opposite. Just make sure you are breathing. And the next time you get down into a goddess, we'll stay here. Lift your chest, find your breath, ground through the four corners of your feet, open the heart. And bring your hands onto your knees, lean forward a little bit, and we'll drop one shoulder down. So a little bit of a twist and push that knee away. And then back up and drop the other shoulder. And just notice the spinal movement. Okay, coming back to center. Inhale, standing star again. And then we'll heel toe our feet in. All right, so we're going to do a little standing sequence, and be mindful of your low back through this. So, when we come into these standing poses, we want to make sure we're not dipping and sinking into our lumbar spine. Right foot forward, your back heel is down on the ground, veer one legs. Reach your arms back at first, palms facing the floor, engage those triceps. Long spine, and connect the spine to your back heel. Feel reaching. And then when you're ready, arms out in front of you, inhale, rise up, crescent, or not crescent lunge, but veer one. And notice the lumbar spine. Are you compressed? Are you sinking down? And what can you do to lengthen and open? It might be leaning forward just a little bit. And just see, is there a back bend available in your body here, in your upper back? Can you reach your ribs off your hips? Can you ground your feet into the earth? And then release the hands. Interlace your fingers the weird way. We'll start with the weird way this time. Open up again through your chest, and we're going to do humble warrior. So lean forward, bring your torso in front of your knee, and then lift your arms. Now for me, this is a hard pose for my shoulder. This is a range that I don't have very well, so I'm going to put a strap between my hands so that I can lift my arms a little higher off my spine. Bow into this pose. Your legs are kind of in between a Vera 1 and a Vera 2 legs. Root into both feet. Relax your head. And then push through your feet. Rise back up and walk your back foot forward. Pause here for a moment. Notice your spine. And we'll take our left foot forward, plant the right heel down onto the ground. Start your Vera 1 with your torso forward and reach the arms back. Triceps are engaged. Full breaths. Reach crown to tail. Reach tail to back foot. And arms out in front of you. Interlace your fingers, arms up to the sky. And you might have arms wider. You might have your hands on your hips. You might be leaning forward a little bit. You might be climbing up and doing a full back bend. So just kind of find where your body is most supported in this without compressing into your low back. How's the breath? Reach the ribs up off the hips. All right, and then release the hands down. Take the strap behind you if you need it. Otherwise, interlace your fingers the normal way, the comfortable way. We'll open up through your chest and then a long spine forward. Bring your torso on the inside of that knee. Arms come up away from your spine and bow your head. Heads of the arm bones lifting. Use your core, use your legs, and breathe. All right, and then release your hands. Bring your hands down onto the ground. Back foot or front foot comes back, dog pose. And let's come forward into our last plank. Put your knees on the ground if you need, and find the earth. Last of the belly facing down back bend. So do something that feels good where you feel the whole spine lengthen, stretching that dura mater and or not the dura mater, but the dural tube, and then relax. Put your head on your hands. Pick up your feet and windshield wiper your knees left and right. All right, come back up onto your hands and your knees. Move your spine however you want to move your spine. All right, we're going to come onto our back with a block. Okay. Taking a one last back bend. Okay, so feet on the ground, lift the hips up, get this block underneath you, and stretch your arms overhead for a moment. Just getting that length in your sides again, and then relax your arms down. And you can put the block higher into any variation of a bridge that feels good to you. You might even stack two blocks. You know, your spine's very open right now. We've been doing a lot of extension and a lot of flexion. So there's plenty of opening if you want to kind of come into a deeper, fuller version of bridge pose. And of course, you can do this actively instead of with the block if you prefer. Open up the breath. Open up the front of the spine. All right, now we're going to do some flexion variations. So start with putting the block on a low height. If you have it higher, bring it into a low height. Don't bring your knees all the way to your chest. Just bring them over your hips and lift your legs straight up in the air. So we'll start here, just getting our spine used to a little more neutrality after the back bend. Maybe you want to have your arms overhead. Maybe you want them out to the sides or down at your sides or anywhere at all. So find the place of comfort for you. Breathing deeply. All right, now we'll bring the knees in toward the chest. You always want to give your spine a little chance for some neutral first after a back bend before going into a deep forward fold. And now take your knees a little wider, hold your feet, and you can always just keep your knees in if that's better for your body, or if you want to do a happy baby like I'm doing with your pelvis up on the block. So now we're really opening that lumbar spine up, getting that stretch of the spine there. And then release the feet to the ground. Lift up your hips, get the block out of there. Okay. Shift your hips over to the right, knees come up and drop them left. And twist open. Turn your head. Try to feel the full spine twist. Back to center. Scoot your hips the other way. Knees come up, drop to the side. And twisting. Finding the inhale, finding the exhale. And then come back to center. Okay, so perhaps let's start this with crossing your thigh over, right thigh over left thigh, and draw your knees in. So opening up the hips a little bit. We'll do a little more movement, but start here. Maybe a little pulsing. Maybe your whole spine can rock a little bit. And then we'll slide the right foot onto your left knee, and perhaps a little movement here. Maybe you want to circle before holding steady in this pose. And when you are ready, you can hold the back of the left thigh or the front of the left shin for a reverse pigeon. All right, put that foot down onto the ground before doing the other side. Maybe just another little windshield wipering left and right. It can be very gentle. And then cross the left thigh over the right thigh. Draw your knees towards your chest. Relax your head. All right, and then maybe start with just your hand as you slide the left foot over to the right knee. Maybe start with your hands on your knees so you can just kind of circle through your hip joint to here a little bit. And then find your way to a little deeper of a posture where we stay in a reverse pigeon pose. Notice your breath again. Right. Release that foot down, both feet down. One more time, a little windshield wipering. And then grab your strap, or you can hold behind your legs. Either way, but lift your legs straight up in the air. And just feel that extension in the spine one more time. So just let gravity help support that lengthening of the vertebrae. Okay, maybe you want to flex and point your feet while they're up here. Just get a little more range in your ankles. And then we'll relax out of there. So as you find Shavasana, you might want to pay attention. First of all, you might want a little something like I'm in the mood to shake my hips right now and do a little twist. So if you need anything to release your back in any way for Shavasana, take it. You might even want to do some rocking plow where we're just kind of rolling on our spine after all that beautiful spinal work we did. Maybe it might feel nice. So do whatever feels good. And then prepare for Shavasana. All right, so as you come to rest, you might want a bolster or something underneath your knees. So take your time to find the variation of Shavasana that would feel really, really good to you. If you're at all chilled, make sure you get warm. Take any support that you need. Breathing deeply, breathing fully. As your body rests and begins to settle, relax your limbs and let your limbs teach your spine, your vertebrae, how to let go. Melt into your breath. Let's begin to deepen our breathing. Fill yourself up with a big breath. Find a little movement that feels nourishing to you. Eventually, finding your way to your side, try curling a little on your side for a moment. And then come to a comfortable seat when you're ready. Take a moment to ground yourself one more time. Notice how you feel. And remember, this motion is lotion. So throughout your day, try not to be still for any length of time for too long without moving your body a little bit. Let's send our energy, our love, our care out to another. Namaste. Thank you, everyone.